Hello, everyone. This is the slideshow for your brief and research assignment for this semester. Once again, this is central to the course, doing this research, because it will allow you to back up and defend your arguments that you make in the debates. And each of you will do 8 of these briefs, and they're each due by class time, which is 11 a.m. on the day that's posted on the syllabus. So I believe your first brief is due next Tuesday by 11 a.m. These are pretty simple assignments, but in the end, there's 36 people in class and everyone does 8 briefs, which means we'll have nearly 300 pieces of evidence to use for the affirmative and the negative. I will be sending you an email to join the blog. I will also post a list of what side you are on. That is the affirmative side or the negative side in these debates. And that means please post briefs that support the side that you're assigned to. This way we have an equal number of briefs for each side in the debate. Also, if you have any questions, please email me. We can respond that way. Or we can always do WebEx meetings, little 5 or 10 minute meetings. Given online classes, my schedule is pretty flexible. So please just let me know, and we can have a meeting anytime that you so desire. Okay, so briefs and writing briefs. First of all, what is a brief? A brief is simply a synopsis of a basic argument. That is, give us a brief version of what an argument an author is making. It can also be a response to a basic argument. So maybe a response to, defunding the police will increase crime. You could give a response or a synopsis of a response or rebuttal to that argument. And these briefs contain the sources and the bibliographic information as well. And we'll go through how to do that here in just a second. So what is on a brief? Basically, 3 things go on your brief. First is a tagline. That is your claim. What is the argument, right? Institutional racism is defined as X, or the police disproportionately kill people of color, or defunding the police would lead to an increase in crime, right? The claim is your basic argument, right? The thing that you're defending, you're claiming. And then the brief itself is the evidence that backs up that claim. So you start with the tagline, then you put your source, which is the full source. But typically, in a debate, you just read the author's name, the qualifications of that author, and the date. So the way I usually do a brief is I'll put those 3 things sort of outside of the parentheses, as you see an example here. Jenkins, professor of communication at UC in 2012. And then I put the rest of the citation inside the parentheses as a way to signal what I'm going to read in the debate. So in the debate, I don't have to read in Persuasion in Our Lives, edited by Sean Wall, etc. I just read Jenkins, professor of UC at communication at UC. And then the third part and the most important part of a brief is you can either do a paraphrase of the argument, like paraphrase the argument in your own terms, or you can just cut and paste. Typically, this is going to be about a paragraph in length. So if you're cutting and pasting something, be sure to give us at least a full paragraph so that we have the full context of the argument. Don't just give us a single sentence, because oftentimes those single sentences will just be claims themselves and won't have the data or the evidence to back up the claims. So give us at least a paragraph, sometimes up to 2 paragraphs, and you can just cut and paste it directly from your source. Or let's say it goes over a couple, 3 pages, and there's not like a easy way to cut and paste that. You can just do a paraphrase in about a paragraph of what the argument was from that source. So here's an example. You see, this is from a long time ago when I was a debate coach at James Madison University. But you can see I have the claim, the time is ripe for energy conservations and renewables to enter the mainstream. Then I have the author, McKibben, visiting scholar at Middlebury College, and in 2002. And then I just have a paragraph from his article that backs up that claim. Or here's one. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to exit my slideshow here and show you one, if I can see it, on our blog that I just did. One of the reasons I like our blog is that it has this flip card view, so eventually we'll have a bunch of briefs here, right? And you'll be able to quickly go through them and just read the claim. And then, oh, here's one. This is about the definition of structural and institutional racism. So I open it up. There's my claim. There's a difference between individual, structural, and institutional racism. Institutional includes inequitable impacts due to the behaviors of institutions. Then I have my source, as you can see here. And then this is just a quote from the article. There's one other element for our briefs, and that is further supporting evidence. You don't have to type out anything about this, but what I want you to do is find an article that also backs up your claim besides the one that you quoted from, and post a link to it in case people want to beef up that argument. So you see here, I have these definitions of different types of racism, and then I have an article on how the definition of racism is changing based on academic research to back it up. Okay, if you bear with me while I pull back up the PowerPoint here. All right, so there's a couple of examples. You'll be getting your blog invite very soon. If you don't get that invite, please email me, because a lot of times it goes to like the junk mail folder or something like that, and I'll try to send it again. So why do we make briefs? Obviously, these serve as useful reminders of the arguments that we have out there and the arguments that we've encountered in our debates. It allows you to prep your case and your arguments beforehand, right? You can print off or cut and paste them into a Word document from the briefs and help craft your speeches that way. It also gives you a ready-made response to common arguments, right? You're not going to know everything exactly that the other team has said. And so, you might want to kind of have some briefs ready to go in case they do make an argument. In fact, this is an old lawyer tool, briefing out arguments like this. And that's precisely why lawyers do this, is in order to prepare an argument just in case the other side makes this argument. How to read so you can make briefs. I encourage you to read the whole article and not just read for the first brief that you can find, so that you have a wealth of knowledge more than just a snippet of knowledge. But as you're reading, you should think about, what can I brief up out of this argument, out of this article? So what I like to do is I'll draw brackets around the passages that I think might make a good brief as I'm reading them. And then kind of in the margins, I'll write the claim or the tagline. Police arrest African-American males more than any other race. I'll kind of scribble that out in the margins there. So then when I want to do my brief, I can just write that tag, cut and paste that paragraph, and I'm done. Once again, please make sure that these are about a paragraph in length at the very least. And the final tip here is be careful of straw person arguments. A straw person argument is an argument that's built up and that the author is then about to tear down. So oftentimes you'll see somebody say, like, many people argue ... and they'll have a paragraph that makes that argument. And then in the next paragraph, they'll say, and here's why that's wrong, or here's why that's been debunked, or whatever, right? Here's why that's limited. So don't cut the straw person arguments and turn those into your briefs, because that's not what the author supports, right? The author's about to tear that argument down. So be sure as you're reading through the article that you know which side the author comes down on, and only post briefs from the side that the author actually supports. as I said, there's one other thing that you need to do besides brief, and that is to post a link to another article. Um, and I'll be grading these based on the quality of your research. So you should try to look for the highest quality sources, which are usually scholarly sources. I know you've heard that before, but I want to take a second to explain why we prefer scholarly sources over other sources. The main reason for that is there's a thing called academic freedom in the universities, and that is that your research and your funding for that research, etc., is not tied in any way to the outcomes of that research, right? Um, Sometimes in the wider public, there'll be a think tank that's writing an article or research article, and they were paid, say, by the fossil fuel companies to come to a certain conclusion in the first place. Obviously, that kind of research is not as trustworthy as something that is beholden to the research and not beholden to the outcome in the first place. In addition, scholarly sources do what is called peer review. That means that there are other experts who are reading these articles and making sure that they pass muster and understand the literature before they are passed. Whereas when you find things out in the real world, out in the non-scholarly world, oftentimes those things are not peer reviewed. So anybody can offer an opinion, whether it's based in research or facts or not. So try to look for scholarly sources. Obviously, you can use Google Scholar to do so, or EBSCO, the Academic Search Premier. There's a little button on there that you can click that says scholarly sources only, and those are easy ways to find scholarly sources. But just in general, a source is high quality if the author has qualifications and if they're citing other research. If there's footnotes or endnotes that cite other research, and the author has qualifications, they're a professor, they're a researcher at a think tank, etc., then you can trust that those are pretty high quality sources, right? And another way to find a scholarly source is oftentimes, like, say, the Washington Post or the LA Times will run an article about a recent finding in scholarship. And, they'll quote some experts in that article. It's fine for you to brief up that article itself and to quotes the expert, and to cite the Washington Post or the LA Times. But what you should do with the link to the extra article is go find the actual scholarly source and post that. So if it quotes, say if it quoted Dr. Jenkins on social media, go find Dr. Jenkins' work on social media and post it as well. And then you can be assured that you have high quality sources. For the grade on these briefs, mostly I'm looking for two things. And if you do this, you should get all of the points. Again, quality sources, that is academic sources or sources who have expertise in some way. And useful briefs. That is that the arguments that you're posting really help defend or attack one of the positions in the debate. Specifically, articles or arguments, briefs that help answer those points of contention that we talked about last week, right? Those will be what we're really looking for. So if you post a poll that says, 80% of Americans support Black Lives Matter, that's not that useful, you see. We're not debating whether Americans support it. We're debating whether or not there is racism in policing. And we're debating whether or not defunding the police would be a good policy idea. So whether, if 75% of black people don't support defunding the police isn't relevant to the idea of whether or not defunding the police would be a good idea. I mostly find myself deducting a point or two for basic things like you didn't put the full source on there, you didn't hyperlink to your article. And when you go to blogger.com to post an article, you just highlight the text and there's a little thing that looks like a paper clip in in the editing box, and you click that, and it'll automatically link to that to that extra article that you're posting. Sometimes people forget to put the claim in the title, basic things like that. I'll give you feedback on the blog as a comment to your post on what you did right and what you did wrong. So you can follow along there. And I assume that after a couple of briefs, everyone will be getting all of the points as long as you do all of these things. The final thing here, and this is an important one, is it's your responsibility to find a unique article. That is, if someone else has already found this article and posted briefs from it, then you cannot use it. This is the only way I can stop you from just posting the same brief that someone else posted and kind of plagiarizing, but I wouldn't, without me knowing that it's plagiarism, without you even knowing that it's plagiarism. So it's sort of first come, first serve. If someone's already found an article and posted from it, you need to find a different article. Now, there are hundreds to thousands of articles on these topics, so it should not be difficult to find unique articles. It's just kind of up to you to stay on top of what briefs have been posted and to find a unique article and post briefs from that unique article. Now, you have 8 briefs to do, but you can obviously find more than one argument in an article, especially like an academic linked article or something like that. So you might only need to find about like 2 articles or even like 1 book to really support your arguments and to have the 8 total briefs that you need throughout the course of the class. So I encourage you to find like 1 to 2 really good articles, maybe 1 really good book, and post 8 briefs from those over the course of the semester. If everyone were to do that, if everyone say found 2 articles, that would be 72 articles in this class, and that would be like really impressive research. You could take that and even write a research paper for another class in the future. So that's the brief assignment. That's most of the reading and research that you'll have to do in this class. Once again, please email me if you have any questions, and you can see the example on the blog, and you should be getting a blog invite in your email relatively soon. So look for that, and if you don't find it, check your junk mail, and if you still don't find it, email me and I'll resend it. I hope you have a good week, and take care.